60 years ago this week, the Galesburg Silver Streaks were playing for a state championship at Assembly Hall in Champaign. They were ranked number 1 in the state when the season began. They lost only 2 regular season games. They beat 4 teams ranked in the top 10 on their way to the title game before falling to number 3 Thornton in the championship. My guests today are 2 members of that team, Dale Kelley and Barry Swanson, a star guard and a key starter from that class of 1966. And Barry is also the author of Streaksburg, a book about Galesburg basketball history in that 1966 season, currently at the publisher, and hopefully we'll see that sometime this year. So, guys, I want to take you to listen. This is the voice of WGIL's Bill Pearson from 60 years ago today.
The Galesburg Silver Streaks of 1965-66 will rank as one of the all-time great basketball teams in Galesburg High School history. They posted a record of 27-3, won 21 games in a row, won the Illini and Northwest conferences, were the regional and sectional champions, and finished second in the state of Illinois.
Like I said, that was Bill Pearson 60 years ago today. You guys remember that?
Sort of.
Yeah, I can't forget it.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard, I talked last week to Mike Campbell and Scott Kelley. I mean, it's hard to believe that was 50 years ago, but this, you guys are going on 60. So, but you guys are still going strong. So, 60th anniversary of that tournament run. I get to sit down with you guys. So welcome to WGIL.
Good to be here, Jay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put you guys on the spot right out of the gate. 60 years later, where does your 65-66 team rank in Galesburg basketball history? I mean, you could make an argument it's right up there with the all-time best. What do you think, Dale?
Well, I think that I wouldn't rank us as the all-time best because I think the Callahan team was the all-time best. They didn't win the state tournament. They didn't even get to the to the championship game. But in my estimation, I think that team was the best team that they ever had.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't get to see Bumpy and Lincoln, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, that team of Callahan, Mike Davis, Marvin Harris, Bob Lundstrom, and I forget who the other guard, I think it was Burnell Collins. I think that was the greatest team they ever had.
So that would have been around 62 or so?
No,
64.
that would have been 64, right.
Oh, 64, the one with Frank Dexter on it then?
Right.
Okay.
Hey, Jay, I'm not sure that I'm on, by the way.
I can see here.
Okay. Because when it doesn't come on the screen, so that's what I was curious about.
Huh.
Okay. When I talk, I don't see it popping up, so.
Well, I think we're going here. I think it's working right. So,
okay.
So, what do you think, Coach? What do you think? Where's your team rank?
Oh wow. I don't know. I watched some film of the 58-59 team back in the day when we had film. I was going through the archives and found some of that. They were awfully good, and they had, Dale was clearly the best guard ever, I think, in my opinion. Joey, maybe the best forward, but Bumpy Nixon was really something in his day. Jimmy and Odie were great guards, and Dave Cox was an outstanding athlete. Yeah, they were really good. I just think that we had a little bit different sort of chemistry, and we were more of a one-man team, I would say. Dale was, was our, he was clearly a generational talent, no question about it. And but we had some other great players that contributed, and we just meshed really well. So I'll tell you one team that doesn't ever get mentioned, and it's one of my teams, and that's the year that we lost to Richwoods in the final game at our place in overtime. That was a great team, but and I think we could have made some damage in the state tournament. But so, and obviously the 98 team was a great team too, and the 68 team. So all those teams, I think you could, and it's different eras too. I think had we had the 3-point shot, Dale Kelley would have probably scored 72 points in that one game as opposed to 52. So
yeah,
this makes a difference in terms of the eras that you were playing in, and even the way the referees called games back in those days. If you watch our game, the state championship game, it was called extremely closely in some areas. In some areas, it wasn't. The irony in that championship game is we had 2 goaltending calls in that game. And they had Jim Ard, who was an awesome player and
right.
Actually got a dunk in that game. So It just depends on how you want to view it, I guess. All I can say is when I wrote the book, it was a lot of great memories and a lot of really great players, and we had a good time. We had a really good time.
Before we dig into that season specifically, I want to set the scene. Before, you both grew up in Galesburg when basketball was everything. What was it like to grow up here, and who were the people that you guys looked up to? How about you first, Dale?
Go ahead, Dale. You can go first.
Well, I looked up to the Kimbrough twins, who went on to Northwestern and went on to the NFL, because I would see them every morning running in the snow.
Okay.
And I was like, something is wrong with these kids. Okay, why are they out there running in the snow? Well, 8 years later, I was running in the snow.
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't make any sense to me. And I turned to my dad. I said, Dad, something is wrong here. Those kids are out in sub-below weather and they're running in the snow. I didn't have the whole picture in my head. So years later, I was doing the same thing and I understood that.
Okay.
But they were my idols growing up.
Okay. How about you, Coach?
Well, it's interesting. When we were growing up, at least I went to, I think Dale did too, didn't you? We went to Thiel's camp. And
I never went to the camp.
Okay, the movie that he showed every time that we were in camp was the 57 slowdown game with the Kimbrough brothers and Al Williams and Jim Range and Bobby Hoffman. So, that was something we sort of, grew up admiring. And the first game that I ever saw, which I talk about in the book, was the 58-59 team playing against Heron. And they were ranked number 2 and Gales was ranked number 1. That's when I kind of got bit by the bug, I think, and started playing basketball. So, but the guy that I admired the most growing up was a guy in my church, Rick Callahan. And Rick was my hero and was so good to me. And I think to all of us as sophomores, when we were on the sophomore team as the varsity team as sophomores, and Rick was just a real team leader and a really great guy as well as a good player. So I guess that'd be my hero.
Okay. Was it obvious? I asked Mike Campbell and Scott Kelley this last week and I know Scott was the last player to make his team at Churchill, and Mike was, projected to be pretty good, but not a star. Back when Joey Range was coming up, everybody knew from the 7th grade on he was going to be destined to be a star. Dale, were you on track at an early age, or did you kind of come on later?
I came on later due to my teammates. I had great teammates, and they made me better because they did a lot of sacrificing so that I could get the ball. Okay, and that is my biggest gift in high school from a basketball player's standpoint. They were exceptional teammates. Right. And then on top of that, I got a brother that I never had growing up. And my brother was Barry Swanson. So that was a very special time for me. I didn't know we were going to be this close growing up, but God made a way for us to be this close.
Yeah. How about you, Coach? What was kind of your track as a junior high player moving into high school?
Well, I started playing. I was taller than most guys at my age early on. And so that was an advantage. And then we didn't have much success as 8th graders. But we had a lot of success as 9th graders because Coach Bob Morgan that was his first year as a coach. And we were really good, except when we ran into the Lombard team. So, and this guy named a daggone guy named Dale Hollowell, man, he tore us up, and he hit a shot to beat us one time, and then another time we had a lead, and I traveled and lost the ball, and they ended up winning the game. So, and then we all came together as sophomores, and then Dale and Bob Jasperson and I got to play on the varsity team. We were actually on the bench on the varsity team, but
right.
We had the opportunity to play against those older guys who, and as Dale said, that was a great team. That 64 team was a great team. Frank Dexter, awesome player. Davey Lundstrom, an exceptional athlete. I think Dale has often said that he copied his jump shot off of Davey Lundstrom, right? So
absolutely.
And then we had Mike Davis, again, an exceptional athlete. He was a professional baseball player as well. And so that was just and Marvin Harris, who, we talk with a lot of regret about because he was a great player. I think he was second team all tournament in 64. And then, of course, the unfortunate thing that happened to him before our junior year where he was suspended and not able to play with us when he was a senior. So Yeah, it was just really good times. But this guy that in the other screen, I feel the same way about him. He is.
I think we lost Barry there, but are you still there, Dale?
Yes, I'm still there.
Okay. So, Galesburg didn't become a four-year high school until quite a bit later on after you left, obviously. Okay. Coach is back here. I was going to talk a little bit, Coach, about and Dale about Galesburg not being a four-year high school at the time. What difference do you think that made all those years, playing all the way junior high up until your ninth grade year?
I think it was a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for kids to come into the high school as freshmen, watching that as an administrator and a coach, I think that I'm not sure they were ready for it. I think you're a lot more mature as a sophomore, and so I think in the long run that was a good thing for us.
Absolutely. I equated to my freshman year at Northwestern where freshmen couldn't play.
Yeah.
They had to get acclimated. Okay. And I think it was a good thing that we played junior high school basketball against each other.
You talked about, your heroes growing up. What did, was being a Silver Streak always a dream from an early age?
Well, for
mine
me,
was not a dream from an early age.
What's that?
Mine was not.
Yeah, I went. My dad got season tickets the first year that they were at the new high school, and we sat in row T, which is the very last row in the south balcony. And I remember distinctly. I didn't get to go to many games, but I remember distinctly. We played, I think, Quincy in a sectional game there, I believe. And Frank Dexter was a sophomore, I think, at that time, and just tore up. It was just unbelievable. We won that game. But that was the first exposure that I actually had to it. But going to Coach Thiel's camp, where we did tennis and basketball and baseball and a lot of other stuff, I got to know Coach Thiel a little bit, but he was just sort of a god, I think, with a small G.
Yeah.
But to us, he was really an outstanding athlete himself. Another guy that wasn't a hero of mine, by the way, going back in time, was Mike Owens.
Yeah.
I got to see him play at Bradley when my uncle was a student at Bradley, and I got to watch that game where they beat Oscar Robertson at Robertson Fieldhouse. So Mike Owens wore number 44, and Rick Callahan wore number 44, and I wore number 44. So
yeah,
I guess that's where that came from.
Yeah. Talking to Dale Kelley, Barry Swanson from the 1965-66 state runner-up Silver Streaks. So let's get into that season a little bit. Your senior year, tell me about the makeup of that team. Who were the pieces and how did they fit together?
Well, from my standpoint, the best player on the team, I got a lot of the credit, but the best player on the team was Bob Jasperson. Mm-hmm. He was the all-around player. He got the rebounds. He got to guard the toughest man on the other team. To me, Bob was the motor. Barry was the motor that made us go, but Bob was the player that kept us focused and kept us driving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Bob was a very intelligent player, a very intelligent guy, period. Also was the best guy I think I've ever heard do the dozens, if you know what
right.
that is.
Yeah.
Next to, and Bruce Levitt was a close second.
Right.
But Bob was, he was exceptional as a defender and a rebounder, and looking back at as a coach, those are the type of guys that hardly get credit in the newspaper, but they're really important to a team. Dale is, being humble, of course, because he is humble, but he was, as I said, a generational talent. And when we needed a bucket, he was a bucket getter. Terry Childers and Mike Draysites played that other spot in the low post for us. Both really hard-nosed guys who got rebounds and could defend. Terry had a really nice shot, and Mike was a really hard-nosed guy that wasn't afraid of anybody, nor was Terry. And then Eugene Finley started the beginning of the season, but then coach made a change and moved me to a forward or a high post position in our offense. And then Roland McDougal came in, and that made all the difference in the world because Mac was an exceptional talent as a shooter, a passer, a defender, He was unbelievable. He was in the book. I say he's like he was a miniature Magic Johnson, and and
Yeah.
that's not an exaggeration.
Right.
He was
It's
a
not.
magician with the ball. He could,
Right.
and if you were
And
open, he'd get you the ball.
Roland modeled himself after Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
We'd be playing during the summer, and he'd mimic everything that Oscar did on the court.
Okay.
He was also left-handed and Dale was right-handed, so that really worked out pretty well in our offense. Although I think Dale said he liked to go to his left more and then come back with his right hand to get that jump shot off. So, one thing I want to say about that, watching the games nowadays, we see a lot of pick and roll. We call pick and roll, screen and roll offenses, particularly out of the high post area. Right there in the free throw line area. That's a lot of what we did. Ironically, I would set screens for Dale and Mac, and they would come off those screens, either have a shot or they would hit the low post man, or the low post man would slide out and we'd slide in. So it's interesting how offenses sort of have changed. When I was coaching, we were more motion offense, that sort of thing, where a lot of guys are moving and screening, and we never. In fact, Coach Knight, who kind of put that into play, never he didn't let guys screen the ball. Now everybody screens the ball. So it's interesting how that evolved, but for us, it really worked. It really worked well.
Coach, you were kind enough to share part of your book with me, and one thing that was kind of interesting. You said your team was made up sons of factory workers, custodians, salesmen, funeral home director, a pastor, a financial advisor. It was a real cross section of the town. And that's a really great description. I really love that. What made your group, so cohesive? I mean, obviously you have to be good basketball players, but you have to be good guys and get along too, right?
I think one thing that was sort of, you talk about the great teams now, and Duke in particular has sold this concept on the college level. They talk about a brotherhood. And there was a brotherhood amongst us, and that brotherhood for us, for Dale and Bob and I, started when we were sophomores. And that's because the seniors they were really good to us. There was no hazing. There was no messing around. Guys were really good to us and set an example. And so when we became seniors, I think we felt the same way. So, for example, I say in the book, Dale and Bob and I sat in the back seat of the bus. Now, it was a charter bus, by the way. We sat back there, and the guys would come back and talk to us, and we talked to them after the game. So I think that we were sort of given that mantle of leadership, which evolved, and so we embraced the young guys, and I think that then that carried over to the next year and the next year, and the '68 team, they did the same thing. So I think that I'm not sure that Coach probably liked that, but I don't know that he was promoting necessarily, but it's something that just sort of evolved out of who we were as people.
And an article in the paper at the beginning of the season said we're not very good. We didn't believe in that, and Barry definitely didn't believe in it. So we had to show people that we were going to be good. Okay, and that was a lot of the problem.
How much of it, you call it the glory days, all during Coach Thiel, there was success. It's kind of like when Evan Massey got his thing going, it just got roller coaster, got on a roll. Do you think that was kind of the case with Galesburg basketball too? It was just like, once you guys prove as a program that you just kind of like keep going.
Well, it's interesting. There was if you read in the book, it talks about this. There was a dry spell in there, right after the team went to Champaign and lost to West Frankfort. That's the year that Bumpy Nixon was a senior.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't let him play because he was 19, which is a whole other story. But a couple of years after that, they were okay, but they didn't go very far in the tournament. 63, we got beat in the super sectional, got pounded in the super sectional by Lamphere, who got third. And then the next year is when the 64 team came along. And then the 65 team, which was really good, we lost to Quincy in the sectionals. And then there was a replay the next year where we had to play Quincy in the sectionals. And that's what I talk about in the book. And Dale will, say the same thing here. After the 65 game, Coach Thiel got hung in effigy,
Right.
And the other thing after that game was that Bob Jasterson gathered Dale and myself and Terry Childers together and said, this isn't going to happen to us next year, or something to that effect. This isn't going to be the way we're going to go out next year. So when we came to that Quincy game in the sectional, that was like a replay, the same spot, same place. We played at Western Fieldhouse in front of 8,500 some people. And, we're going along, we're rolling, man. And then Dale gets poked in the eye and has to go out. And that's another whole other story too.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if we're going to go to that or not. But anyhow, so we're playing with our, it's like Michael Jordan going out. And so but Bob Jasperson, man, he was unbelievable in that game. And we ended up winning that game. And then the rest, of course, is history. And then Dale comes back the next game and he's unstoppable the rest of the tournament, just like, that was our run that we made. So,
yeah.
And the other interesting thing is, look at that, 21 games in a row we won, which is pretty exceptional. Probably still a record, I think.
Yeah. I wanted to get back to you, Dale. You mentioned about looking up to the Kimbroughs and that, you saw them out running in the snow. And I know Barry writes in his book about how you were up at 6 a.m. every morning running 5 miles, 600 jump shots a day. Was that kind of modeled? Where did you get that work ethic?
From my dad.
Okay.
My dad and my mother, they really pushed me, but I didn't want to really be a basketball player. My interest was baseball.
Yeah, I know you were a great baseball player too.
That's what I wanted to be. Basketball was just, I didn't like losing.
Yeah.
Thank God I had teammates that didn't like losing. Okay, so, but again, I got to give credit to Barry and Bob and the rest of my teammates. I read Michael Jordan's book. I don't think he gave enough credit to his teammates, particularly Scottie Pippen. Okay, teammates make you a player, a great player. Now you got to go out and practice and put in the time and effort, but your teammates make you a great player. And as I've said before, I never saw losing in Barry's eyes, because during the course of the game, I would look at Barry to get a flavor of how we were doing. He always had this upbeat attitude. We're going to win no matter, even if we're behind, we're going to win. Even in the championship game, I still feel like we were going to win. Okay. And we didn't, but I still think we were the best team.
Yeah. You started to talk a little bit about how the season progressed. You start 6-0, and then you have a couple losses, Marshall and Quincy. Did you kind of have to do a reset after that? What caused those 2 losses, do you think?
Well, I think what caused the loss against Marshall would have been down. They would have been in Champaign, but they lost. I think they got third the year before, and then 3 of those guys graduated or whatever they did at midterm and weren't able to play, and so that's why they didn't make it to Champaign. But when we played them, they were one of the best teams in the state. And then Dale got hurt. He got kneed, I think, in the thigh, wasn't it, Dale? I think.
Right.
And went out in the third quarter, I believe. I think that's right. And then
I didn't play the second half at all.
Yeah. So we stayed with him, and we were in the game until the last maybe 2 minutes or something. I fouled out, and then not to say that's why we lost, but we did then lose that game. And then then was Christmas break, where we got to, play against the older guys. We didn't play in a Christmas tournament. We always played against the older guys that Coach brought in so he could scout. And then we came back and played Quincy, and we were miserable. We were terrible. I think we turned the ball over, 20 some times or something, and against that press. And that's when he made the change, because I was not a good ball handling guard, no question about it. But Mac was, and so I think that totally changed the way our team was able to have success after that.
So that move from you for you to high post, that kind of coincided with Roland becoming the backcourt in the
yeah. And the other thing was that I was pretty good at scoring around the basket area. And so, because that's what I had played coming up through junior high, I was always a low post man. And Bob was gracious enough sometimes to vacate the low post, and I'd slide in there and then I'd score. So we had a little more of an inside punch, I guess. But our greatest asset as a team was our speed. We had great team speed, and we could press, and we put the press on people, and we scored a lot of points in transition. But when we needed one, we had this guy that could jump, almost 50 inches off the floor, and put a jump shot in. So that was a good
Well,
thing. And if he missed it, by the way, he'd rebound and put it back in. So
Barry's being modest, but the fact was we were faster than everybody and we were in better shape. And because of Barry, we believed we could win all the games. We never believed we were going to lose. We thought losing was something that didn't exist after that winning streak. So, I compare it to my days at Northwestern when we went on the court and we thought we were going to lose immediately. Okay. We never thought we were going to lose at Galesburg. We thought we were going to win no matter what. And that's the beauty of the situation. And we're still friends with most of those guys. They're still living. Some have passed, but we're still friends. We're still like a team years later.
Talking to Dale Kelley, Barry Swanson from the 1966 state runner-up Silver Streak. So, we've mentioned Coach Thiel many times. There's been so much written about him, talked about him. Coach, you described him as a master psychologist in your book. What made John Thiel so good, and what did he do that maybe other coaches didn't do?
Well, he subscribed to a philosophy. I'm going to say is simple, but it's not really. Coach Bob used to call it the KISS philosophy, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
But our offense was very simple, and it was designed to get the ball inside, which, that I look back on that as a coach, that's what you want to do before the three-point shot was there, because that got the other team in foul trouble. And then I think he adjusted to things, and he adjusted to his personnel. So, he would make sure that, that when you got a Dale Kelley, you want Dale Kelley to get a lot of shots. And so we got shots for him, and rightfully so. And he scored a lot of points, and he made us a better team because of that. So I think he was able to do that. But the other thing he was a little bit, Dale, correct me if I'm wrong, but he could be a little sarcastic at times and kind of put you in your place and, make sure that you were doing the right things. But it worked. So
he was very sarcastic. He
Yeah.
told me one time, you're making an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment. And you're an embarrassment to me, your teammates, and to the city of Galesburg. And I'm going to sit you on the bench. And that's what he did.
Yeah. I mean, not every high school kid can handle that. How were you able to handle that?
Well, I went back in and I
he
played
handled it because
hard.
of Catherine.
Dale
handled it because of Catherine.
I just played hard and ran into people. But it was a tough time. I didn't like what he said to me, but I guess I needed it.
What I said was that you handle it because of Catherine.
That's
she
true.
Told you, you're going to do what you're going to do, and
that's right.
That's that.
You'd have to know my mother to understand the situation.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your big game, Dale. But before that, February 18th, 1966, the night before the Rock Island game, you scored 7 points against Canton. 7 points. And I know I've read, Coach, you've mentioned this. Dale told some of you what was going to happen the next night. Is that true?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, we went in the locker room. We went in the locker room after the game. By the way, that we won the conference with that game. We went undefeated, and we were still undefeated on the road. We never lost a game in our black uniforms. We were undefeated on the road. But that was a night, by the way, that I got 30-some because when they double-teamed him, I was open. So that was a pretty good deal for me. But then he came in the locker room and said, I'm getting 50 tomorrow night. And lo and behold, he got 52.
I'm going to hold on here. I'm going to play a quick clip from that.
To Kelley. Kelley has a little problem, but maintains the ball. Now gets it down into front court. Comes right, gets a screen. Now a 20-foot jump shot. Good! Dale Kelley, 52 points tonight.
Dale, that was, of course, Bill Pearson on the call there. What do you remember about that night against Rock Island? 52 points.
What I remember is that my mother wasn't at the game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. A neighbor from down the street came down to the house and said, your son is doing something fantastic. So she turned on the radio and got to the 52 points, and they said she passed out. She never saw the game until the tape years later. Okay. So that's what I remember about it. And the second thing I remember about it is when I asked her, could I stay out a little bit later and celebrate with the guys? When I got home, she asked me, how did you miss that layup? And went to bed.
And how much is later? How much later did you stay out that night?
To 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, we were party animals.
Yeah.
That was the night that if any of the rest of us took a shot, we got booed.
Right, particularly Bruce.
I did say in the book, the rest of us played hellacious defense that night. So he got a lot of good shots that way. So but that was a great night.
The interesting thing about that night is Thiel had told me during the season that one night I was going to get 50 points. I didn't believe him. I just, shook my head and said, okay.
Did you know it at the time? I mean, did you know like all along, you had 40, you had 50?
No, I didn't. I was running back to the locker room at halftime, and Lindstrom was in the stands, and he says to me, "You got 39 points." Well, I didn't know I had 39 points. I wasn't paying attention. I knew we were winning the game, and that was my only concern, that we won the game. So it was, it was one of those things that I don't know. I can't even remember half of it.
So the previous record was 45 sent by Bumpy Nixon, and I was doing some reading. I think, Coach, you may have this in your book, that Rock Island coach afterwards said he would have stood up and applauded himself, but he thought he might look a little silly if he did that.
Yeah.
But, sticking on Dale, you mentioned on your 51st and second point there, it was a 20-foot jump shot, and then you were, Coach, you can attest to this, probably had the best jump shot of anybody in Galesburg history. Jimmy Carr said, you're the one player who could create your own shot off the dribble. If the three-point shot had been in effect back then, Dale, would your game have changed?
Probably not. They did a little survey in college, Rick Mountain and myself, of how many points we would have scored if we'd have had the three-point shot in effect. Mount was like 57 points a game. Because he was the greatest shooter I've ever seen. I believe he could shoot better than Curry. Yeah. Okay. And they said I would average like 47.
Wow.
So if they did a synopsis of if the three-point play would have been in effect.
Yeah. How many do you think that night when you scored 52, how many would have been three-pointers, do you think?
Probably half of them.
Half of them?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Because we are in our offense, basically, a lot of times what I would do, I would set a screen at the top of the key for him, and he'd come off of that screen, and he would get open or just come right off that screen and jump up over everybody. Tom Gramco was my teammate in college that played for Moline, and he guarded Dale at Moline and that was a big game to win. And I remember one night we were sitting around talking in college, and I said, "Do you remember that game?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "The only thing I saw of Dale Kelley that night were the bottoms of his shoes."
Talk about, both of you can talk about your shot, Dale. I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to see it. I was too young, but you got up when you shot. You had a true jump shot.
Well, I copied my shot from Dave Lundstrom. Okay, he had a pretty shot, but my jumping ability was just God-given. Okay, but everybody in my family, from Al Williams to Joey Raines, is part of my family. Every one of us could jump.
Mm-hmm.
Clay Britton.
Okay.
Clay Britton.
Yeah.
Clay Britton, right. We all could jump. It was just a gift from God.
Yeah.
Were you strictly a shooting guard, or did you drive much?
I tried to do both. I tried to do both because I shot like 14 free throws a game in college, but it was a different type of circumstances.
Yeah.
And I was telling people some time ago, I would have never went to Northwestern if freshmen would have been eligible. I went to Northwestern because my mother told me to go to Northwestern. Okay. But they had a great guard named Jim Burns who played in the pros for the Bulls. So I wasn't thinking about sitting on the bench. So I'd have never went to Northwestern if freshmen would have been eligible.
You'd have gone tell them where you would have gone.
Well, I won't tell you the true story, but I had a chance to go play with Kareem.
Oh, wow.
And my mother says you cannot go to California. I'm not going to tell you why she said it.
And you also got recruited by Princeton.
And by Princeton,
Bill Bradley showed you around, right? So
Bill Bradley was my high school idol.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How do you think it would have been at UCLA?
I'd have played on 3 world championship teams.
You'd have some rings, huh?
Yeah. But I wouldn't have started as a sophomore, but I would have started as a junior or a senior because we played them my junior year. And Kareem got 29 points in the second half, but we were winning at halftime by 10.
So did you get recruited pretty heavily? Was Coach Wooden,
He called me on the phone and invited me out there. My mother, she forget it. You're not
non-starter, huh?
No, don't even think about it.
Okay.
And at that time, you did what your parents told you to do.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is today.
No, I can say that again. So talking to Dale Kelley, Barry Swanson from the 66 state runner-up team. Let's talk postseason now. So regional championship game was against crosstown rival Costa, and you guys won 78-64 at Bushnell-Prairie City. Estimates anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 people. That tell us about that night.
Well, it was unbelievable. But I was just looking here in this box score. We scored 107 points in the first game, I think it was, against Macomb.
Right.
And then we scored 108 points against Monmouth. So we were really playing well. I mean, really well. And they had a really outstanding team, Costa did. And they had a guy by the name of Larry Woods who played with us in the summertime. And we thought he was going to be on our team. And great guy still. Dale and I still, correspond with him, and he's just a great guy. But the administration didn't want another Bumpy Nixon, so they said, no, Larry can't play. And it was all above board. It wasn't like there was no recruiting. There was nothing. His family moved to town. And so anyhow, he plays for them. And they had some really great players. They had, Jim Kemmer was a really great player, and John Glasovich and other guys that just really were good. And Crawford and Turner. So it was a heck of a game, but they packed that place, and it were like in this little small Bushnell-Prairie gym, and I think they estimated 3,500 people in there, which is as big as the Bushnell-Prairie City.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was a great atmosphere.
How much pressure is there playing your cross? I don't know if they were a rival, but playing crosstown team.
Well, I believe there was a little pressure.
Yeah.
But it was a game in which Roland really came through and scored a lot of points.
Yeah.
And what happened, I believe, is was a focus on me, because I played with all those guys during the summer, that they kind of forgot about Roland. Okay. And he scored 20-some points, Barry? 20. He had a fantastic game.
He had 22 and I had 21 and you had 20. Yeah.
You mentioned, Coach, he had 107 against Macomb, 108 against Monmouth. Earlier in that season, you scored 109 against East Peoria. So you guys put up some points. You had several other games in the 90s. So,
and remember, there was no 30-second clock and no 3-point shot.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of points for a high school team.
Yeah. So you beat Costa for the regional. You beat Quincy and Hamilton in the sectional, and then it's on to state, and you get Springfield. Tell me about that game.
They were big. They were huge.
Yeah. Dave Robish was a great player. Went on to play with the Celtics in the NBA. Great player.
Bill Scheffler. Yeah. Bill Scheffler, who ended up being the principal at GHS at the high school. He was about 6'5", but I don't know, 230 or something. I mean, they were big guys. And we ended up, Thiel said to me, he said, all I want you to do is stay in front of Robish, and then we'll give you help on the backside. And Terry and Mike Drasites and Bob all helped out. And we didn't shut him out, but we made it tough for him to score. And Dale had a great night. And, yeah, we beat him. So it was a good win. I think the one advantage to that was we had played at Western 2 games and played the previous year there as well. And it's a college court, so it's 10 feet longer. And it does make a little bit of difference in terms of your preparation. I know that when we used to play at ISU, Jay, you might remember this, we'd go down to Knox and practice before we go down there because it's just a little bit bigger court. And so I think that was a little bit of an advantage to us. But it didn't bother this guy, Mr. Kelley. He just didn't care how long the court was. He just rose above everybody and scored.
So then you make it down to Champaign. How much of a relief was it just to make it there?
Well, we believed we were going to Champaign.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a matter of relief. We believed that through our leader, Barry Swanson, that we're going to Champaign. There was no doubt about it. Okay. He made it known before we ever took the court that we're going to Champaign. Because the year before They went to Champaign and lost. Was it? I believe it
2
was
years,
right there.
2 years before.
Yeah, 2 years before and lost. Okay, because of some craziness that went on. And the story is that they stayed up all night looking at King Kong, the movie King Kong. That's the story I got. Now I don't know if it's the truth or not, but that's the story I got. So we had a different mindset because we didn't believe that we should ever lose.
Yeah.
After we won those 21 games. So we knew we were going to Champaign. Okay. It didn't matter. Okay. The thought was never about losing. The thought was never about losing. Even in the championship game, we didn't take the floor thinking we're going to lose.
Nope.
You know, Coach, you mentioned
one thing, Jay, I do want to say in defense of the 64 team. Everybody, says, "Oh, they lost to Cobden." I watched the Pekin-Cobden championship game on YouTube a while back. Cobden was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like we lost to a terrible team. They were a really good team, and the foul discrepancy was really quite a differential. So and Rick Callahan had fouled out, and Mike McBride, a lot of guys had fouled out. So that was not something that we should be ashamed of, because those guys played hard. They were a really good team, but Cobden was a good team as well. But when we went down there, everybody thought that Benton was going to win the whole thing because they had two guys that were all-state players that ended up being Division I players. They're really great players, and had some other great players as well. But we came out of the gate and we played really well, and then I sprained my ankle in the second quarter, and we were behind. I think at halftime by 3, right? I think.
Right.
And then they taped me up. We came back and for some reason we threw the press at them. Why? No, because I think their guard fouled out or was in foul trouble, and we took a big lead into the fourth quarter. And then they came back and almost, it was a tie game. And then I thought I was going to be a hero, because Coach Thiel calls timeout and they're pressing us. It's a tie game. There's 31 or 32 seconds to go. And so he tells us, we go over breaking the press. And as we're walking out on the court, McDougal had fouled out. That's why they were pressing us, because obviously he's our best ball handler. And Bruce LaViolette and Dale and I are the three guys who are going to have to break the press. And then Bob had fouled out too. So it's Terry and Mike, I think, were on the floor down the other end. And so we walk out and we all turned to each other kind of simultaneously, said, "I don't want the ball." "No, I don't want the ball," which is unusual for Dale Kelley, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we knew we were going to get trap pressed. And so I think what happened was they were so worried about Dale that they left me alone, and I got the ball and I turned it, and it was like the Red Sea had opened up, and I drove the length of the floor. I think I had to beat Adkins or something to the basket, and I did, and I laid it in. And we go up 2, and I'm thinking, man, I'm the hero, man. We won this game. This baby is over. And instead, Atkins throws full court down the corner, and some bench guy, Hill is his name, throws a shot up. And nowadays that would be a 3-pointer from the corner. Remember that? And then I guess somebody threw it into me. I threw it to Dale. Dale takes 2 steps across half court. Boom, hits a shot, and we win. So it was amazing. And we just jumped around like we were little grade school kids hopping around that floor and celebrating. So that was a great win. Great win.
So you beat Benton and beat Belleville down there, and then you're facing Thornton in the championship game. Kind of set the stage for that.
Well,
Dale.
We never expected someone to come off I don't know if he was a starter or Rattery came off the bench, but he came off the bench or started and scored something like 24 points. During the course of the game, we played the zone, and he was on Roland's side. So I turned to Roland and I said, "Roland, are you going to guard him?" And Roland was so tired he couldn't even respond to me. Because he was a freshman, a sophomore, and we had played those 3 games in like 24 hours, and he was just wiped out.
Yeah.
So Rattery scores all these points, and I never forget Roland looking at me. He didn't even respond because he was tired. And
it's like I told you like I say in the book, Jay. We were not just physically drained; we were emotionally drained. When you play 1-point game and a 2-point game, like we did, and play the way we had to play to win, which was, we had to put pressure on people. We had to run. We were tired, and that's not an excuse. It's just a reality. And then we didn't know about Rattery wasn't a guy that they talked about in the scout report, and it was like, we had to put the stops on Thomas and on Ard, and so he put us in a 2-3 zone, and Rattery just went off, and he had 22 at half.
Right,
we
best game of his career.
We were down 22. Yeah. But we came back, and we got within 10 with about 6 minutes to go, and they held the ball, and so we had to foul them, and that's why they ended up being 14 points. But they were a good team. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
They were a very good team. And they had the biggest man I'd ever seen up to that point. I mean, he
wasn't only tall. He was a man amongst boys. Yeah.
He played at Cincinnati. He played for the Celtics.
He went on to have a great career at Cincinnati, and played in the pros, and actually finished up with, I think he played the Bulls. He played with the Celtics. So really a heck of a player.
And he was the biggest human being I'd ever seen.
Lamar Thomas was a Quinn Buckner type athlete. I mean, he ended up playing football at Michigan State and got hurt. And sadly, he's passed away. The other thing we should mention that Bob Jasperson, our teammate, has passed away, as has Bob Lindstrom. Two guys that were great guys. Another guy in that team that never gets any mention is Steve Marshall, who was just a great teammate, just busted his tail all the time in practice and made us better. And we were very fortunate to have just great teammates.
Yeah, very fortunate.
Yeah. So you lose that game 74-60. Obviously, I'm sure you guys were crushed. I think I read, Dale, you weren't real crazy about even getting the second place trophy at that time.
I had to push him forward.
I wasn't interested in second place.
Yeah.
Plus, I had played a really poor game. But I think there were, I'm not making excuses, but I think there was reasons for it because I really couldn't get the ball. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway because I was really beat. But in your mind, as a 17, 18-year-old, you don't think about being tired. You just think about going out there and playing. And to me, it just was unfortunate.
Yeah. How tough is it to lose, get that close and lose? Obviously second place, you always remember it, but first place, there's something different about it.
Well, to me, it was probably at that time as a 17, 18-year-old was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. And I still, from time to time, think about it. And when we came back to the reunion, they had this movie showing this game. Okay. And I wanted them to turn the movie off. I didn't want to see the game again. Okay. It was like, why they were showing it in the cafeteria at the high school.
Yeah.
For our reunion. And I was like,
53.
Yeah. Why in the world are they showing this game? Okay. We lost. But it was a difficult time in my life because I felt like I let a whole city down and that I only scored 11 points. Okay. It was a terrible time. But again, I was grateful for the opportunity to even be there because everybody just thought we're not a good team. And I knew that was better. I knew that was not the case.
Yeah. How about you, Coach? How'd you process that in the game?
Well, I sent you those pictures and you saw the one where we're sitting there sobbing into our towels. And we were literally sobbing. We weren't just crying. We were sobbing. We go up to get the trophy and he's hanging in the background. And I said, get him up here. He's the guy that's going to get this trophy, nobody else. Because, hey, here's the deal. We wouldn't have been there without him. So, yeah. And as a coach, I can tell you, I've watched that game. They played like some kind of a combination defense. And every time he got the ball, he got doubled. And they were so quick in passing lanes and we were so tired. We didn't move the ball very well. And so, it wasn't they were obviously, it's like, I've got a grandson that's a pretty good player. And sometimes they just face guard him all the time, and that's kind of what was happening to Dale. So that's what happened. And give them credit that they did a really great job with that.
They played a box and one.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. So wherever I went, they played a
box and one and they fronted me so I couldn't get the ball in the middle.
Yeah.
So that was what.
So, I mean, 60 years ago, but do you remember what Coach Thiel said after the game?
He was really
I don't
proud of
remember
us.
anything about that night. Okay.
Yeah.
I just kind of blanked it out of my mind. I was like, this is not happening.
Yeah.
Okay. And I probably cried for 4 or 5 days. Didn't even want to go home and talk to anybody. And it was just a sad moment, but I learned from it. Okay. And I grew from it. And then I went to Northwestern and we lost all the games.
No, you did not. An
So it was
interesting
quite
thing,
a turnaround.
Jay, you've interviewed Harley Nosher, and he says something. It's in my book, where he said athletics teaches us to win, lose, and love, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's as a coach, that was a hard thing. Me, I hated losing. As he told you, I hated losing. But it's something we have to learn in life, that we're not going to win every game. And and I think honestly, looking back on it, we left everything on the floor. We didn't, it wasn't like we were screwing around and not giving it our all, because we gave it our all. And they were at that night, they were a better team than we were. So you just have to sometimes take that and walk off and say, okay, we'll take the second place trophy home. So that's what we did. And then we got the greeting of, that you could only dream of in terms of when we came home. So people still treated us like we had won the championship, which was great.
I was going to ask you about, the finishing second. Coach Thiel never won a state championship. How do you think he handled that? There was a lot of pressure on him.
Well, no one handles it well when you've never won a state championship and you've been there a couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how Thiel handled it. I can just tell you, I'm sure he didn't handle it well because, especially the year before, he's hung in effigy and he had a great team. Okay. But that just shows you how people in Galesburg thought about Galesburg High School basketball. So I'm sure there was moments that he wondered, well, how come I can't win this thing? What's the problem? Okay. But like Barry said, every coach can't win. Bobby Knights wins 2. The coach at Duke wins. I don't know how many he's won. Sometimes you're just not going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you had the best player. LeBron.
Coach Thiel, I think Coach Thiel might be the most competitive man I ever knew, though. And he hated to lose. And I don't care what it was in, And he told us one time in the locker room, he said, if I've beaten my grandma 99 times straight in checkers, he said, on the 100th game, I'm going to try and beat her then too. So, so that's just the way he was. He was a highly competitive guy. And I think he instilled that in us. And we were competitive because nobody wanted to lose. But I think, and that's the thing I had to learn as a coach, that sometimes you can give it your very best and you lose. And that's life. So get on with it,
Second in the state, but Galesburg did win a state championship. The cheerleaders, right? The cheerleaders were state champions, and what you know as well as anybody about that one.
I get reminded of it a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you do.
Yeah. and speaking of winning, see, then Dale and I, we were able to win the lottery because of our wives. So we came out on top after all, So my wife Gail was an All-American cheerleader, and they did win it. Yeah. Very good for them. But as I've reminded her many times, had we not gotten to Champaign, they wouldn't have gotten to do that.
That's true.
So therefore, yeah.
And we also had
by the way, I want to say that Dale's wife, by the way, is what makes Dale Kelley even more special, because she's one of the most remarkable women I've ever known, and tell her I said so.
Well, I will do that. I'm not going to tell her too many times, though. I don't want it to go to her head. She'll be calling me, telling me, you know what Barry said? No. She is a remarkable woman.
Yeah, she
is.
So is my wife. And any wife that puts up with me, that they've got to be pretty special.
Yeah.
Right? So,
before we finish with the rapid fire, Barry, tell us about your book, Streaksburg. What's that book going to be like, and when's that going to be available?
Well, it's at the publisher right now. It's getting a final edit, and it's a memoir. It's a sports memoir. It's my story about from my perspective as the memoirist, they call it. And so part of it is the season. Part of it is my wife's and my love story. Part of it is just about a lot of history of Galesburg basketball, how it became the Silver Streaks. Evan Massey sort of does a great job with his blog telling all these stories, but this sort of puts it all into this book. Evan Massey, the new, I'm gonna call him the new Tom Wilson. As are you, Jay. By the way, you do a great job of helping us remember some really good times and good memories. So yeah, it's a memoir. So that's what it is. It's memory. It's a memory of a great time in my life, and then I talk a little bit about coaching and my own experiences, but I didn't want to dwell on that. I wanted to talk more about our team and maybe the lessons I learned from being a teammate and also being a coach. So that's what it's about.
Okay. Let's finish with the rapid fire. I'm going to give you a prompt and give me your first thought, and we'll start with Dale and then we'll go to Barry. So how about the 1966 Silver Streaks in 3 words?
Great teammates.
Okay.
That's 2 words.
Close enough.
The best teammates.
Okay, there you go.
3 words. Okay.
How about you, Barry?
Galesburg Silver Streaks, 1965, 16.
Yeah.
Great unity. That's only 2 words too, but there was great unity amongst that team.
Okay. How about John Thiel? Just rapid fire. Doesn't have to be 3 words. Just
good coach.
Great coach, competitive son of a gun.
Okay. How about best player you ever faced at any level?
Roland McDougall.
Wow. That's pretty good compliment right there.
Yeah, he's the best player I ever faced, even in college.
I'd say Dale Kelley, who I still have 8 stitches in my mouth from. So.
How about the favorite gym that you guys played in besides Galesburg?
Morton.
It's the best game I ever played in my life in high school.
Okay. How about a favorite teacher who wasn't a coach?
Roland Haig.
I think the teacher was a math teacher. I think her name was Mrs. Black. I can't remember her first name.
Okay. How about what was the best place to eat in Galesburg when you were growing up in high school?
Ooh, Harbor Lights. The best place was Harbor Lights.
Okay.
Well,
which I do talk about in the book, by the way. And
my
John
mother's
Thiel
kitchen.
My
mother's kitchen.
Okay. That's a good answer. And then I also, not to get off track, but you guys regularly went to is it Canton Cafe
Wong.
that you got? Yeah, Wong. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was
Canton
your
Cafe.
place to. Yeah. How about when you hear the William Tell Overture, what do you think?
Hi-O Silver Away.
Yes, the same.
Okay. And finally, Dale, I'm going to have you talk about Barry, and then Barry about Dale.
Well, Barry is the brother that I never had. I've got 2 sisters. I love them dearly. I always wanted a brother, and Barry's that brother.
Okay.
I love him dearly. He's a great friend. He's been he even took me to get my driver's license, which my mother didn't like. Okay. She was like, you can drive a car. She didn't like that at all. So Barry became my brother that I never had. He's an exceptional human being, and he was the leader of the Silver Streaks. That's why we won all those games.
Okay. How about you, Barry? About Dale?
Dale, I would agree. Dale, I feel like Dale's a brother I never had. Dale has set an example to me of a man of faith. He has, done so many great things as a pastor in his community, and has been an example. I mean, if you want an example of how to live a blessed life, Dale Kelley's the guy to look at.
Okay, before I let you go, I want to play something. It's a little long, 3 minutes, but you guys mentioned after the tournament, you have a huge welcome home. Like more than 4,000 people packed the high school gym, and WGIL was there. Bill Pearson was there. And actually, they did this cool album. So I'm going to play the introduction a little bit from Bill Pearson of your Tournament 10 team.
10 points was as close as they could come. The Streaks finished second in the state of Illinois. The Silver Streaks and Coach John Thiel returned home to a proud community. Thousands lined the streets of Galesburg as the Streaks caravan returned from Champaign, and 4,500 fans packed the high school gym for an enthusiastic welcome home.
Now let's bring out the ball players. We have sophomore, member of the Tournament 10, Lew Finley. Another sophomore, Leon Luckett. A junior 6'1" guard, Bruce LaViolet. A sophomore 5'9" guard, Roland McDougal. A junior 6'4" center, Mike Drayside. Another junior 6'4" at center, Terry Childers. We come to senior guard, Steve Marshall. Senior 6'3" forward, Bob Jasperson. Senior 6-foot forward, Barry Swanson. Senior 5'11" guard, Dale Kelley. And now, the greatest coach in the state, John Thiel. The mayor of Galesburg, a Galesburg High School graduate, Dr. Robert Cabine.
We think you're the greatest bunch of guys and gals that this town has ever seen.
Does that bring back some memories?
Absolutely. One thing I'd like to say before we go off, in writing the book, I'm trying to get some information. I'm trying to show where people are now, and I need some help about if somebody has some information about Lew Finley or Leon Luckett. I want them to try and contact you, Jay, at the radio station. It's probably the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
The other thing I should mention is on that tournament team was Dave Wood, who was also – he was like he and Leon sort of rotated a uniform, so he wasn't mentioned in that thing, but Dave Wood should be mentioned as well. So
okay. And I know, Dale, you said you're still kind of processing that loss, though. But what's that mean to you to hear that? When that crowd, welcomed you guys back.
Well, as I've gotten older, I realize that everything that's happened to me has been a gift from God, and I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful that I have this friendship with Barry. And friendships of so many other people that I know. And it all becomes from my relationship and faithfulness with God. And I had just an unbelievable mother and father who instilled this faithfulness in me. And I'm just grateful. I'm just a grateful person. I'm just a happy, grateful person.
Okay.
The applause are great, but as I've gotten older, I just don't need the applause anymore, but I do need this relationship with the man above.
Right.
And I would second that as well.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Very well said. So the mayor of Galesburg said it 60 years ago. We think you're the greatest bunch of guys and gals this town has ever seen. He wasn't wrong. Barry Swanson, coach, known you for a long time, known you forever. And today I got to know Dale a little better. So I appreciate both of you guys, for what you did then. And, you've led successful careers and lives. So I just wanted to thank you for joining me today on WGIL to reminisce a little bit.
Thank you
so
Jay,
much. Thank you. Thank you for all you do for Galesburg and continuing to do a great job like you did for me as a statistician back. Was that a million years ago? I'm trying to think.
Maybe 40 or so. 40 plus, right? So who's counting though?
I got one question for you, Jay.
Okay.
Did he get any technicals and ever get thrown out of the game?
Yes, he did. Maybe
I never got thrown out.
No, he never got tossed, but he got a few tees. But
he got a few tees.
Some of those Peoria.
One thing that I got to say before we go, because every time that Dale and I talk on the phone, he has one thing that he says to me every single time. Do you know what that is? You say at the end of our conversations always?
What's that?
Has to do, Dale. Tell him what has to do with my two sons.
Oh, Barry has two sons. I think they both play for him. And I always say, tell Barry to tell them that they couldn't beat us if they tried. And even as old men, we'd beat them.
Yeah.
I don't think
and Gil agrees
my
with it.
grandson could probably beat us single-handedly now.
And Gil agrees with it. Okay, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. God bless you. May your life continue to be full of graces, God's goodness and grace.
Okay. Dale, Barry, thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.